by my timepiece, it's 12:30. My name's Dan Carney. I'm the chairman of the Board of Trustees, Weatherford College. This is a meeting of the Board of Trustees of Weatherford College, Thursday, September 21, 2023, beginning at 12:30 p.m. in the community room of the Emerging Technologies and Workforce Building located at 225 College Park Drive, Weatherford, Texas. To act and consider upon a posted agenda, I'm calling the meeting to order. Mr. Baker, would you provide an invitation?
Be happy to. Thank you, sir. Please bow with me. Lord, again, we come to you. We're thankful. We're thankful for the cooler weather. We're thankful for all the students you've brought our way. We're thankful for our dedicated faculty, staff, and our board. Please be with them as they deliberate. Help this to be an incredible semester for our students. We thank you very much. In your name we pray. Amen.
I'll lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item number 2 is the public comment section. Ms. Worley, is there anyone signed up to speak today?
No, sir.
Thank you very much. Item number 3 is the President's report from Dr. Farmer. Sir?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair and members of the Weatherford College Board of Trustees, I would like to give a few brief recognitions, employee notices, and an enrollment update. Recognitions. Congratulations to Dean Kathy Boswell on being appointed to the Texas Board of Nursing. Dean Boswell has served WC for 43 years and is a leading healthcare educator. She was instrumental in the development of our LVN, ADN, and BSN programs. The grant-funded electric vehicle charging stations in the Alkek parking lot are now fully functional. Several additional EV charging stations will be available in the Vicki and Jerry Durant Hall parking lot. We are proactively building an EV charging station backbone that can be expanded as necessary in the future. The defending conference champion Coyote volleyball team is currently ranked 8th in the nation and is leading our conference again this year. Not bad for a second-year squad. Go Coyotes! Employee notices. DMAC Local requires the college president to provide the names of contract employees that have resigned since the last board meeting. Crystal Pfeiffer, our coordinator of student relations and student resources, has resigned effective 8/10/23. Christy Sanchez, an instructor in vocational nursing, resigned effective 9/1/23. Shanna Mello, the manager of legal services, has resigned effective 8/28/23. Elliot DeWitt resigned from his assistant coaching of men's basketball effective 8/28/23. And General Counsel Dan Curley retired effective 9/1/23. We thank Crystal, Christy, Shanna, Elliot, and Dan for their service and wish them the very best in future endeavors. Enrollment update. The enrollment report as of Monday, September 11th was 5,574 students enrolled compared to 5,337 students last year. That represents a 4.4% increase of 237 students. Weatherford College Wise County is also up with 499 students compared to 418 last year. That represents a 16.3% enrollment increase of 81 students. Mr. Chair, that concludes the President's report.
Thank you, Dr. Farmer. Item number 4 on the posted consent agenda and financial reports, items A through G, which have been posted. Is there any comment or question from any board member about any item on that? Hearing no comment in that regard. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda and financial reports in their entirety?
I'll motion.
Dr. Dixon, thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Doug. We have a motion and a second. All in favor, please raise your hand. That motion is approved. Item number 5 is consideration and possible action on a new antenna system and installation services, number RFP 01-24. Dr. Cantrell.
I think as it was described in the agenda page that we think we need a new antenna on campus. So We enlisted the services of Total IT on campus to come as a consultant and recommend. A total of 2 companies bid it, I think, submitted proposals. And we are recommending at this time American Amplifier Technologies for a total proposed cost of $71,858. I think Brent said Dave was here if there were any questions on that antenna as to what it would do for us or anything else.
This is your recommendation?
This is my recommendation.
All right. Do we need to hear from a representative? Does anyone care to have them make a comment about what we're doing here? Everybody's in accord then. I move approval. And is there a second?
Second.
And all in favor of that? Appears to be unanimous. So moved. Item number 6 is consideration of possible action of an irrigation well at the main campus, number RFP 02-24. Dr. Cantrell once again.
This is a rebid on a request that we sent out last month and brought back to you and had denied because of the cost on it. Basically, we had only 2 bids that met the requirements of the specs. And of those 2, air and water well drilling out of Jacksboro had the low price on this bid. This is definitely higher than your normal well that you would drill every day. I do have with us the engineer, and I might explain to you all that we are required by law anything over $8,000 for a public works to have an engineer. And anything over $50,000 is architect also approved. So they were involved. The well will be at the top of the hill. It's straight down rock. The requirements are a lot more extenuous to be built, drill a commercial well. Philip will be glad to entertain any questions on those. I did call the first of the week a very, I feel like one of the outstanding well drillers in the country, and I did find out, unbeknownst to me, that he is up on the Upper Trinity Valley requirements for the wells, for the water that we had to go for approval for, and these have to meet their requirements too, the wells do. The well has a steel core instead of what you'd find in a residential, which is PVC in those. The time constraint, I mean, it takes anywhere from 90 to 120 days, depending on the circumstances, to drill one of these versus a couple of days on residential. I've talked to several, and I do feel comfortable, based upon talking with the engineer and all that this is a fair price to the college. I know in here we presented the base price, alternate number 1 and alternate number 2. This alternate number 2 was if we had to drill it after hours. It's at the end of the Don Allen building. We were concerned about it because it's a very loud process, having to do it after hours and not during class time. But we just got word before we came that the driller says that he can accomplish this during the Christmas holidays. So we would not have to have that additional $57,200 with it. Do you have more specific questions on the well itself?
So there's not going to be any work commenced until the holiday period?
No, and many times with the bond, and you have to get licensed to come in here from the city and all that, it's going to take a little while to get that in gear. So it would be another month at least, and during that time of year, hopefully the water won't be quite as important as it is right now.
Educate me a little bit. Tell me why we need this well as opposed to accessing City of Weatherford.
More expensive, a lot more
Give me some more
expensive.
information.
A lot more expensive. We have 144,000 capacity tank, and it takes that running all the time, 24 hours a day, most of the time, to refill, to run again. We're not even meeting it with the 2 that we have now. We're not coming close to meeting that timeline. So, also you run against stuff with the city that, not being able to water, like at, except for the dates that they're on it. But to be able to keep a campus going like this, and it to be appearances and to save the trees, everything else, the plants, it's just become essential to do this.
And this is purely for irrigation purposes.
Yes.
This isn't providing water to any interior of any building here.
Correct, right?
Solely
only
to
for
do the
irrigation only.
landscaping and the exterior areas of the entire campus.
Do we utilize the tank, the water well we built for the baseball field over there at
Yes.
all? Or?
We do. John, you
Yes,
can
sir.
tell the areas that they're in more than I can.
I guess one of my questions, Dr. Cantrell, was if it is for irrigation purposes and the specs that our engineer designed it for, does it really need all of those things just as an irrigation well when it's not like water consumption for the public or anything like that?
Could I defer that to the
Sure.
engineer, please? This
Yeah,
is
sure.
Philip Borghese with the Tignall and Perkins.
Now, why don't you step over to
If
the
you
podium
want.
if you don't
I'm
mind?
sorry, I didn't get up.
Introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the details of this.
Sure, not a problem. Philip Burgess with Tignall and Perkins. I'm the team leader on the team at the company. In reference to the well, so typically on a commercial, I wouldn't say commercial, on an irrigation well, what we're trying to do is trying to maximize the production of the well. On a domestic water well, their production is expected to be maybe 5 to 10 GPM, and it's an on-demand request. Like when someone turns on the tap, the water's there. On an irrigation well, we're trying to get as much water as we can to fill into the tank because of the irrigation demand that's required for the campus. So when we're trying to develop the well, there's certain criteria that we're doing. We call for a 6-inch column pipe to go down and drill the well. Typically what a well driller does is they drill a pilot hole, they get samples of the material that's down there, and based off of the samples of the material, the earth material, they go and size the slot that is needed so that they can maximize the production of that well. And then based off of that, you also want to make sure you size the pump capacity appropriately. We had to go through the Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District to get this well permitted because of certain requirements that they have in terms of distance to the property line and all that kind of stuff. We were able to get that permitted, and they also have a requirement that we can't pull more water from the aquifer than what they have per the rules. So our limit is 50 GPM. So depending on how the well is drilled, how it performs, our max production that we can get out of that is 50 GPM. Hopefully that answers some of the questions that you may have. So again, a residential well is an on-demand, right? If someone's requesting water, then the well turns on. An irrigation well is pumping constantly. I mean, we're hoping to get as much production out of that well than we can. And it's also to help compensate the other wells that are on campus, and depending on how much they're doing as well.
Doctor, did I understand we only had 2 bidders in this process?
Yes, there was 3, but 1 did not meet all of our specs. We were not able to consider that one.
There's such a large difference in the amount of the 2 bids. Do you have any
Well,
idea why
this
that was?
first, one of the bids is a return of the last
When
bidder.
was the return?
And so, no, I don't know why it was gonna, and, and visiting with the other gentleman that was not able to bid it or whatever, and he's tremendously busy, he said, it's just, there's so many variables in this of how they consider this, but, this, he may have been gonna pull off of a job too to come get it if he could, your husband contracts all the time. And so I think we thought automatically it's too high. There's no question in our mind that it was, that we felt like we had to. But in visiting with others, I really don't believe this one is from
And I'm
just
going to
talking
add
with
a
them.
few points to that. So I think the state's getting ready to restrict well drilling because of the resource in the aquifer. So everybody is out there trying to drill wells before that state law comes in place, so that state restrictions come. So a lot of well drillers are busy. When the bid went out, we reached out to several well drillers to try to get the bid on this project, and everybody's just busy. That's the reason why you're not getting a lot of participation in there, because everybody's just out there busy drilling wells.
It probably wouldn't happen, but what if like we drilled a well at our house and we didn't have any water? I mean, what happens?
Well, that was going to be my next question. What kind of warranty guarantee is involved in this?
Well drilling is a particular science.
So we could drill a $300,000 dry hole.
There's a possibility there. I'm not going to say no to that, but you're going off of the resources that you have. That is historical information that you have based on the 2 existing wells on campus. There's also other wells around the around the Weatherford area. We look at all those data to verify the depth of the well, and we also consulted with Upper Trinity Groundwater Conservation District to verify the depth of the well that we can go down to. It's the Trinity Aquifer is what we're drilling down to, and that depth is 550 feet deep.
550.
Yes. If you go to the Trinity Aquifer down further to Saginaw area, Fort Worth area, that same aquifer is about 1,200 to 1,300 feet deep. So that aquifer climbs up as it comes up to Weatherford.
Okay.
I think I would feel more comfortable if we took some time just to evaluate this. Maybe even if we wanted to see about another engineer's opinion about what we need here. And I'm not saying you're wrong, but I think before we spend $370,000, we owe it to our taxpayers to get another opinion about this before we do it, is my opinion.
Okay.
For a water well. And maybe that is an analysis of using more city water than we are. Maybe it is more expensive than drilling a $370,000 well. But I think we should go through that process before we look at this.
Okay. Well, thank you, sir.
Yeah, and then what they do is they drill a pilot hole, right? So when they drill a pilot hole, they can see what the production is before they go and fully develop the well. So if at that time, if they find out there's any issues with that, they can make the call, hey, we may look into other options here. So that's just laying that out. I mean, it's not like you're going all the way through.
And this proposed agreement that we'll be entering into will have that kind of a
That is what they
provision in
do.
it.
That is typically what a well
It'll
driller
be-
does.
it'll
They
be
drill a pilot
by
hole.
section
Yes.
price.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And they all,
We
that's
would
just something,
get- yeah, we would get a
they
schedule
tell me
of
there's a
values from
tremendous
them.
lot of testing as they go down. That's one thing that takes so much time.
And so what they do is they get the sample of the material and verify, and they do what's called, I mean, I can get into all the technical things. They go and do an e-log, and it gets a data reading of where the water is. And based on that, we go and set where the screen of that pipe, stainless steel pipe has to go down to, depending on where that e-log shows where the water's coming in.
Okay. Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it very much.
Thank you, sir.
Well, then I'll put it to the board. Is there a motion either to approve it or approve the proposal, or is there a motion to table this for further study for a couple of weeks and take a longer look at it? Does a board member have a motion?
I would move we table it for now.
Okay. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that.
Okay, Mr. Smith seconds. All in favor of the motion and the second? Okay, it's unanimous. Table that action for further study and decide on when we're going to put it back on the agenda again.
I think we get it back on the agenda as quick as we can.
Sure,
I know this is
absolutely.
This is something that's, we need a decision on it. If we're going to drill, we need to do that as quick as we can. So anyway, that's just a comment.
When is our next scheduled meeting?
I believe it's like the 12th, the 12th.
October 12th.
And I do have one more option that I didn't know if we were going to get bids, so I might be able to have someone else to look at it too.
Okay.
Okay. Well,
I think there's also
another
a
direction
time
to go.
limit on the, I'm asking the
There
engineers. Is there a time
probably
limit
is.
on that
I'd have
permit?
to call Jeannie. I can't recall at this point.
You got a time limit
A lot
on
of
that
times
permit
they're 30.
too, right? 90 days?
The permit hasn't,
No, we've applied for the permit, and I think we have about a year until we get a well.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
we have a year to drill it.
We have a year.
Mhm.
I need to go back and,
That's what he says.
I'll have to check back with the Upper Trinity, but they've given us some time to make sure that we're able to, get a bid and get a driller on
I
board.
see.
So we'll need to go back and check, but I think we applied for this permit back in June.
Yeah, one more thing.
Yes, sir.
If you've got a window of opportunity to do this during the holidays, is this going to affect that window of opportunity?
So depending on, so if you guys are saying you're taking it to the October,
Well, if I have to secure an engineer, another engineer to look at it, or if I have to put it totally back out to bid,
yeah, that could, if you
That
have to
could.
put it out to bid, then it would get into that time frame. Yes.
Okay, all right.
Think about it.
Thank you.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, is that all at that point?
but we're glad, we'll work with you in any way to meet these two.
Okay, item number 7, reports on WC, academics and student services update. Dr. T, Dr. Ivy, Dean McLaughlin.
Mr. Chair, if I may, they have provided written updates for you on each of those 3 reports, and you are welcome to peruse those if you haven't already done so, and follow up with any questions with any of those 3 sensational team members. And then moving to item 7B, we do have a very exciting presentation that Marcie DeChiara and her colleague Jared will talk to us about. And so Marcie, are you going to lead us off and introduce your colleague there?
Yeah, sure will.
All right.
I'm so glad to be here this afternoon. My name is Marcie DeChiara. I am an English faculty member and the faculty member, or the faculty senate president. And I am here with my colleague, Professor Jared Stewart, who is also the department chair of social sciences. Today we're going to talk about AI and Weatherford College. So let's go ahead and get started. So AI technologies are transforming the workplace and education and training norms, which are creating both challenges and opportunities for our future. The future of work is going to include the further automation of repetitive tasks. And we've seen this kind of automation in factories, logistics, and customer service. Now this automation has come to assist us in teaching and learning. Let's talk about what AI is. So we have our National Artificial Intelligence Act of 2020 that defines artificial intelligence as machine-based systems that can, for a given set of human-defined objectives, make predictions, recommendations, or decisions influencing real or virtual environments. Now, what that means is that it's a broader concept of machines being able to mimic human cognitive functions like problem solving, perceptions, learnings, and it does this by machine learning that teaches AI about image and speech recognitions and makes predictions based on evidence in natural language processing. Now, that's very complicated, and what it means to us here at Weatherford College is that we can use AI in several different ways, and I want to start by talking as AI as our teaching assistant. Jared, would you like to take over?
sure, I'll tag in. Good to see everyone again. So we're looking for ways to do more with less, right? Because our instructors, we've got a lot of students. We want to be able to spend as much time with them as we can. So we're looking for effective ways, efficient ways to use our time. So what we've been trying to do is look for the useful things we can do with AI for both our instructors and our students as well. So for example, we can't afford teaching assistants, but we can use AI as a TA is what we've been kind of doing. So for instructors, Planning is made a lot easier using AI. A simple 16-week or 8-week calendar for a syllabus. You can say, give me an 8-week syllabus covering these topics for federal government. And it's not perfect, but it's a starting place, right? That would save me 45 minutes, an hour's worth of time. That's time that I can spend mentoring students. That's time that I can spend doing other things that I enjoy more, quite frankly. There's grading that we can automate some of the grading. Now, this doesn't affect every discipline equally, right? Some disciplines are going to be more apt to use this, but anything that we can automate for our faculty, that's time that we can free up so that they can use their creative energy doing something for our students. And then finally, this is something I use AI for a lot in my classes, government classes, summarizing court cases, Supreme Court cases. Things that I would spend time writing up summaries for students. Students can go get these summaries themselves. I can find these things for them so that they always have that information. So for the instructors, this saves us a lot of time. I've already had instructors come up and say, hey, I used this to just get a draft of a letter of recommendation. Thank you so much. I got my Saturday back because of this. Thank you, which is great. So for the instructors, we're already saving time, we're already seeing efficiencies, but we're really seeing differences for our students. And Marcie's going to talk in a moment about the dangers of AI. I want to talk about the usefulness of AI for our students. We unfortunately have to sleep, right? So we're not available 24/7 for our students. AI can be. So if there's a question that's sort of a lower level question that they would send an email to us at 3 in the morning, we're not going to answer it hopefully until 8 the next morning, right? They can go to AI, they can go to ChatGPT, something like that. It doesn't oversleep, right? It doesn't ghost students, it always responds to questions. So they have this 24/7 tutoring access, and because so many of our students are working multiple jobs, they have families, the ability to access that information anytime they want to, simply and easily, is awesome. For the students as well, summarization. We have a lot of ESL students at Weatherford College, students whose English is not their primary language. I'm from East Texas. I talk quick and I have this accent. Not a lot of students can catch everything I say. They might not feel comfortable asking in a classroom, Professor Stewart, can you repeat that? They can do that later. They can go back to their dorm room. They can go back to their apartment. They can type in something I said in ChatGPT. It doesn't give them the embarrassment of asking, and they can get it even in their native language through AI if they want to. And then finally, clarification, right? Sometimes there's so much, I say that our classes are like drinking from a fire hose. There's a lot coming at you, and you're just trying to take in all that you can. If you have points you need to clarify later, ChatGPT, AI is a great place to go get that information. So we're seeing a lot of usefulness for our students here. Just some examples here. So these are things that our students can do. Now, typically, I direct students to go to ChatGPT because it's the simplest AI engine to use. There's a lot of them out there with a lot of different potential. So this is something that our students could do. Type in this prompt. Pretend like you are an astronomer, let's say, right? Explain galaxies to me in 5 different levels of understanding from elementary school level to college level and beyond. AI would then give you a breakdown of galaxies from a very elementary to a PhD level, each one of those levels of learning. Now, what this allows the students to do is build their learning, right? Scaffold their learning. They can begin with these abstract concepts and then go to more data-driven levels of understanding. They can do this from the comfort of their dormitory, right? So there's all these different ways that they can learn. What college major should I get if I want to be a lawyer, an airline pilot? Can you help me study for my federal government test? I've developed a quiz. As a matter of fact, it's an interactive quiz in ChatGPT where my students can go in. They're all questions that I've fed it. If they miss a question, it will review the notes for them and prompt them again. Once they get it right, it will move on to the next question. This isn't anything I had to pay for. This is free. This is AI. This is not through Connect or a publisher. This is free to the students 24/7. This is an incredible resource if we use it properly. And so far, I think we're on the right track. I'm going to turn it back over to Marcie to talk about some of the dangers.
Well, we can clearly see that there are potentials with AI that I think right now we're not even quite at the point to where we can imagine everything that AI can do. In terms of publishers, before this meeting, I had looked up what Pearson is planning for AI, and they have quite a bit on deck for the future for college textbooks, high school textbooks, all textbooks really. So I want to talk a little bit about the dangers that we are seeing with AI and learning as it currently stands. The dangers you're going to see are going to be obvious at first. They may have issues with plagiarism. Because AI is very good at offering instant, high-quality essays, there is that temptation for students to use ChatGPT in place of their own development of essays and thought. So instructors at all levels are seeing that increase, and we see colleges and universities that are having to revamp their academic integrity policies. Now we have one in our own catalog, and we have several that are within departments that are going to further clarify our academic integrity policies. We think that in the future, Weatherford College is going to have to look and revise to include AI technologies in that policy. So we are addressing that with a faculty-driven task force as we speak. And so we're going to have other issues, though, because AI is changing definitions on what common knowledge is. Whenever everything is at your fingertips, then what becomes common is very broad. So that's something that we're going to have to address. Academic inequality. There has always been a technology gap between what we think students can do and what they can actually do with technology. You might be surprised to hear that even though our students are on their phones all the time, they're very good at social media and not a lot else. So there is going to have to be a situation where we teach them how to use AI and make everybody be on that equal playing field, so they learn how to make a prompt that is appropriate for school, appropriate for automating their tasks, but not replacing the thought process that would go behind it. So one of the biggest dangers is the ChatGPT hallucination, which sounds pretty far out. But the problem with ChatGPT and all AIs, especially at these initial stages, is that they really want to help you. And if they don't have the information, they will make it up. This is where instructors or teachers or content experts become very, very important in the teaching and learning process. Because we have been trained, we have developed, we have that expertise. I myself have 20 years of expertise in the writing process and rhetoric. But everybody who is here should be a content expert and be able to discern the difference between what AI is producing and what is actually a standard piece of knowledge, or know the research techniques to get to that knowledge and have it accurate. But students don't know that, and that's been a challenge in the classroom. And then finally, AI detectors. We thought in the beginning that we would be able to use AI against itself to detect other forms of AI writing. That has not been the case. It cannot reliably detect itself. So we have certain programs that are in place. The Weatherford College uses an originality checker and portfolio system called Turnitin. It is something that we use by policy in many departments to check for plagiarism, back when we were simply worried about copying and pasting from web browsers. So, or borrowing papers, whatever it may be. But now we have AI checkers, and they're not as reliable as we might want, because so much writing is pretty standard. It has a standard format. It has kind of a boilerplate. It's very hard to detect. So we're going to have to improve upon that technology. We're also going to have to change our assignments so we can be assured that students are learning at every stage, as opposed to relying on technology to have a computer read what a computer wrote and then a human give a grade to it. That is the worst outcome that we can have with AI. Otherwise, it has great potential. All right, so I would like to move on to what we're doing here at Weatherford College to prepare for those potentials. So there is a great interest on this campus with many, many faculty and staff members to look at the future of AI. And to that end, we have the library with Kathy Rankin, who has created a generative AI LibGuide. That is, you can go to the library homes page and see everything that we know about AI and how to use it appropriately within an academic setting. We also have Julie Moeller, who has created the Weatherford College Instructional Hub. So this is an ongoing clearinghouse of information that she is collecting, that she is distributing, so we can continue with our professional development in order to stay ahead of that AI curve. And finally, to close our discussion today, that I think that at Weatherford College, we are meeting those AI challenges head on. I have an example here, actually, Jared, if you could.
I went through several iterations of this, so just for interest of full transparency, I spent hours in ChatGPT playing with it, trying to find things. I made it send an email in the tone of Lindy Bruce once. So I wanted to, so I don't know if you know this. I wanted to give a thoughtful statement for you. I couldn't come up with anything, so I thought, why not let AI take a stab? So this was the prompt I gave it. Give the Board of Trustees a thoughtful statement about artificial intelligence and the promise and potential dangers it poses using an analogy, but keep it to 2 sentences. We have work to do. So this is what ChatGPT gave us. Artificial intelligence is akin to fire with the potential to illuminate our path towards innovation and progress. Yet, just as fire can bring warmth and comfort when controlled, it can also wreak havoc if mishandled. Similarly, AI's promise and potential dangers must be carefully managed to ensure it benefits humanity without causing harm. You know, when you ask it to talk about itself, it's pretty congratulatory. I think this speaks to some of the potential. We've got a lot of things that we're doing at Weatherford College. I can tell you that we're on the cusp of this, and we're doing a lot better than a lot of other institutions are at trying to think ahead about how AI fits into academia. So I'm really proud to be part of the team.
And I do want to thank you today for your attention on this issue and open the floor for any questions you may have.
This is totally fascinating. I don't know enough about it to comment intelligently, but I'm happy to hear that we have folks like you all that are on the toes of watching over this and seeing where we're headed. I appreciate your input. I appreciate you doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. And we're continuing our education with this. We will actually have further information at the Dean's Forum on Monday, where we'll be talking to the faculty and the deans about further AI concerns.
Thank you so very much.
I'm impressed that you told it to limit to 2 sentences, and with all the punctuation, it kept it to 2
It
sentences.
stretches those 2 sentences. Run on it.
I have noticed that it does like its punctuation, and so I think one of the weirdest outcomes may be that we have stronger grammar, stronger skills from ChatGPT.
I do have a question about chat. What's the initials? Chat what?
GPT.
GPT. Is that like a web? I didn't know nothing about this. Is it a website or an app, or how do you get to it?
It is a website. So there are many different AIs that are available that are currently being beta tested, and ChatGPT is one of them. That's a company called OpenAI. There's another very good competitive AI called Claude from Anthropic that is actually, I think, a little bit better than ChatGPT in terms of natural language. But I just Google searched it, okay. AI chats, and this was the first one that popped up, and it turns out it's the one that everybody's writing about, so it was I guess a good choice to pick from the top.
It's very interesting.
Any other questions, comments? Thank you both very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for your time.
I believe we're at item number 8, future agenda items or meetings. Dr. Farmer.
Yes, sir. Next month, we will be bringing the annual Access and Affordability Report, as well as the Clery Act report.
Thank you very much, sir. And AI just took us out. Item number 9, Mr. Baker calls for announcements. Do you have some for us?
Yes, sir, I do. It's a busy time of year. In the packet, you see several. I hit some highlights for you. We have our Weatherford College Foundation Golf Tournament coming up next Thursday at Canyon West. Several volleyball matches. President Farmer mentioned how well our team is doing right now. October 7th, the 5th annual Weatherford College Alumni Rodeo. Always a great time there at the Parker County Sheriff's Posse grounds. Campus Cookout on August the 10th, or rather October the 10th. And then a special event on October the 11th. Russell Boyd was a DPS trooper that was from Weatherford, and he was a Weatherford College alumnus. And unfortunately, he lost his life in the line of duty back in the 1980s. And because of the capstone project of one of our Bachelors of Organizational Leadership students and a very generous donor, we have a granite bench that is being installed on our campus in Trooper Boyd's honor. And we're going to have a short unveiling of that bench on October the 11th. That'll be at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We would love to have you here. There'll be multiple law enforcement here that day, including the DPS Honor Guard. And then we do have a presentation. In your packet, it says October 16th. We had to change the date because of a commitment from the U.S. Attorney General's office to October 18th. It's a presentation from the U.S. Attorney General, and it features Fort Worth Police Chief Neil Noakes, who happens to be a Weatherford College alum, on fentanyl and other crimes. That'll be at noon in the academic building, and Ryan will send more information about that event coming up. That's all I have.
Thank you very much, Brent.
Yes, sir.
We're down to item number 10, where the board will go into a closed session with regard to real property matters, appointment and evaluation, dismissal of officers and employees, and then we will return. The time now is 1:10. Time now is 2:14 on today's date, September 21st, 2023. We're back in open session once again, having concluded our closed session discussions with regard to any real property matters. Item number 11, there are no action items, nothing to act upon in that regard. Item number 12, dealing with public officers or employees. We have no action items to address at this time on either of those. We're down to a motion to adjourn. Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Max Smith, second.
Second.
Leila. All in favor? It's unanimous. We are adjourned.
That's good, Mac.